Russo's Ultramax. Frank Russo stands behind every Ultramax formula with 100% money-back guarantee.
5:25, forget Tupperware. An increasing number of women are now taking part in Botox parties, where a group of women get together for a laugh, a quick jab in the face. Now, I don't get it. I just don't get it. I really don't. Isn't Botox poison? I thought it was a prescribed medicine. I would have thought it's not something you invite your friends around. I mean, just the other day we were warning about hepatitis issues related to do-it-yourself piercings and do-it-yourself tattooing among schoolies. Now we've got grown-up women who are deciding that they're just going to have a quick jab in the face. So there's obvious risks associated with the procedure. Dr. Linda Williams warns sometimes women attending these parties are not given the advice they need to make an informed decision. She joins us. Well, Doctor, let's deal with what Botox is. It's a poison, isn't it?
Hi, Gary. Look, it's a prescription medicine, as you've already said. So it's a purified protein with specific uses and should be prescribed as such in the correct medical setting. And
well, I wouldn't have thought having a party and having peer pressure for a pinprick made a lot of sense.
Well, I agree with you, as do our two major industry bodies who advise against that kind of environment in which to have it. And I think the difference being is the treatment itself of having Botox is not the problem. It's got a long track record of safety and effectiveness, but this environment is not encouraged because, as you said, it should be prescribed. Medical history should be taken. Consent forms should be part of the procedure. And yes, and you throw in a little bit of alcohol, and you can't really be certain of whether it's being done in the correct manner.
Well, I mean, it's fair to say, at the very least, you should be talking to your GP before you have anything done, I would have thought.
Yes, GPs could well know about this procedure, or as it stands, there are definitely clinics with approved and regulated doctors who are trained in this field. The thing about the doctors, it being a prescription, it needs to be prescribed by a doctor. But there is also the avenue that nurses can work for a doctor or must be supervised by a doctor in order to also administer the Botox. And sometimes at the Botox parties, they are run by nurses without the supervision of a doctor.
Well, this is a bit scary because, I mean, this is just sort of a rough interpretation of the picture, and there's a few things wrong with it. A nurse who is used to administering Botox under the supervision of a doctor throws a party and gets what the doctor to maybe sign off on it afterwards. That's my allegation. That's one question I would ask. And the other side of it is, who says if the nurse jabs it into the wrong person who, for some other clinical reason or pharmacological reason, shouldn't be having anything jabbed into them? Who's in trouble here?
Look, again, two good points. If it is in fact a nurse holding the party, then they again, it's a difficult thing for the insurance companies to monitor and regulate against, because the way the law stands, a nurse should be officially under the supervision of the prescribing doctor. So, there may be a doctor who's putting themselves at risk of litigation for not really following the rules. But then also there could be doctors who are running Botox parties themselves, which is again outside like the moral or ethical standards that our industry bodies would recommend as a suitable environment for doing medical procedures.
I mean, we're talking about things like the Australasian College of Cosmetic Surgery, the Cosmetic Physicians Society of Australasia. They all have strict medical and ethical standards.
Yes, and people who become members and are accepted as members to both those industry bodies abide. Part of your membership is to abide by ethical standards.
Well, I mean, and as a professional body, peer pressure, peer review, that's part of the penalty. But equally, God forbid, if something goes wrong, it becomes of interest to others, I would have thought.
Yes, and you're exactly right. And unfortunately, the first thing that will get, pointed at is probably the product rather than the individual. It's a little bit. It's a difficult situation because the legal situation is still quite grey. People are working towards trying to get clarification of who's responsible for whose actions, but it is still quite a grey one, other than following, what the best practice industry standards are.
Well, look, and Doctor, I know cosmetic surgeons. I know people in the sector who take all of their work incredibly seriously. I know that you also have your own artisan cosmetic and rejuvenation clinic in the Valley. I mean, you're not talking down competitors here. This is a reasonable caution, in my view, that you're expressing. See, the concern I've got here is there's a quote that's been reported from a Botox party host saying a lot of the women who come for the first time love it, and they say they end up being addicted to Botox. Oh dear, there's something wrong there.
Look, I think the confusion is in this argument is not against Botox itself. I mean, a lot of people love the effect that they can get from Botox, and I don't know if addiction is exactly the word. It's more that if you get a good result and you enjoy the result, then it's available to you. But to put it into that sort of a fashion statement, or to simplify it into something that could be carried out with a glass of champagne, and to devalue what really should be still considered a medical procedure.
Well, Doctor, I think you're right, and I don't disagree with a word of what you said, because to my mind, the analogy is a bit like the old sort of sailor on shore leave, with 20 mates and they all go and have too much to drink and all get a tattoo, and some of them understand why they did it and others don't. I mean, anything like this, you've got to be fully sober, fully cognizant of what you're doing, surely.
Well, I think even just the point that you've got to, you should be signing a consent form for a treatment, especially if it's the first time. So, the fact that if you're having a bit of alcohol, or you made the point before, peer pressure, are people actually really happy to have the treatments? But I think it's just something to definitely keep in the conversation, as you're doing, that we keep aware of what is the decision here. The decision is about safety and about looking after yourself. It's not, if they're safe, especially in somewhere like Brisbane or Australia, we've got lots of safe options and lots of great clinics and doctors who are following all the safety regulation rules and doing it in a great environment. It's not for want of being able to access these treatments.
Yeah, there's got to be other ways of doing it. Good to talk to you, Dr. Linda Williams.